welcome. This is Dr. Traci K. I love you in this place. Thank you for coming to share your practice and being part of this spiritual Sunday vibe message. If you haven't already followed me on Facebook, we have a group, and I'm going to shout out to those who's always posting those amazing, wonderful art, motivational, spiritual vibe quotes. You got to check them out. It's a facebook.com/group/spiritual vibration challenge. We want to welcome you. You're always invited and to share. You can also go to the website workingoutseries.com. There's a wall of gratitude. You can post your gratitude to level up for 2022, what you're going to be grateful for. Everything you're grateful for, you can level up. Post it there, or if you need a spiritual request or some support, things that have happened, we want to hear from you. Don't be shy. Come on, guys. We need you. Come on back here. Invite, because this is about everything that it comes to when it involves being able to elevate our spiritual self and become unstoppable in our self-esteem. And I'm so glad, because I want to invite you, if you haven't already, to the Level Up for 2022 tour, an event that I've already established with my team and my partners in regards to my websites and social medias. And my books are coming out. My books are already out when it comes to the Elevate Your Spiritual Self audiobook. There's the Self-Esteem and coming out. If you buy the book, which is about anything in regards to what we're dealing with in our life, because we need that mind-body connection. And as an NLP, neuro and health and wellness, fitness professional lifestyle coach, this is about connecting, because it's about our subconscious rewiring. And we need to incorporate a lot of stuff that we need to do. So you can check it out. It's called Secrets to Self-Empowered Growth. Get that book. Give us a receipt. Give us your email, and you get a free ticket to this amazing virtual live experience. And I can't wait to hear from you guys. Put in the comment below. You can find it on Amazon. Now, this is the thing. We have Valentine's Day here coming up. Plus, a lot of you, I love NFL football. And I just want to give a shout out to the Bengals in Ohio in the Super Bowl this year. I love the Bengals, but I am a big fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles almost made it, but Ohio is my home of record. And so go Bengals. And you go figure, because it is the Chinese year of the tiger, the water tiger. It's amazing how that just falls right into place. So go Bengals with that tiger. I'm going to be doing my major Qigong energy medicine exercise, support you in this amazing Super Bowl, and I hope you get there. So go Tigers, go Bengals. But let's get back to what I want to talk about today. As I said, I'm interfaith, and but I want to talk about love here. Let's talk about love, because this is what Valentine's Day is all about, love. It's the big old, if anybody knows about my claim it. And my rumor is that all the soldiers out there are taking this on to claim it. And since I did serve my troops, although I would love you to give me a shout out to that and all the soldiers, I would love to see some videos and send them to us. Share it with us. Hashtag claim it, Dr. Traci K. If you got any those claim it for my song, my most recent song, Claim It, this will be your day. Show them to me, because I'm going to feature them on our upcoming virtual event. But let's talk about love. The topic today is about learning to love. Learning to love. So, this is about a spiritual Sunday vibe message now, so we're talking spiritual here. So, when it comes to love, it's what is love? Does anybody know the definition of love? I would love to find out what you guys think in the comments. What your definition is love about. What is your definition of love? Your own personal thought. When you say, okay, I want you to sit, meditate, clear your mind, take 3 deep breaths, and then say to yourself, what is love to me? And then whatever pops in your mind, I want you to put it in the comments below. I want to know what everybody thinks love is. So, do that now. Put it in the comments on my social media, Facebook or YouTube, my YouTube channel or my podcast, whatever you need to do. Can't do it on my podcast, do it on YouTube. I want to know. I want to know what your definition. When you take those 3 deep breaths and you say, what does love mean to me? Whatever pops in your mind, I want you to put it down in the comments. Put it in your journal. Okay? So, now, if you ever watched and listened to my other episodes, I love my Webster. Love my Webster Dictionary. So, love. Love is a noun. But it's not just a noun. It can also be a verb. You know that? Yes. Love can be a noun and a verb. Now I'll explain to you. Love as a noun. This is what love means as a noun. An intense feeling of deep affection. A great interest and pleasure in something. Like the love for football, right? A person or thing that one loves. It's just it's anonymous. It's dearest. It's a dear one. Now, love as a verb. This is love as a verb. Feel deep affection for someone. Meaning that he loved his sister dearly. Infatuation is that. So, as a verb, it becomes intense. It can even be criminal. It's smitten. It's obsessive. It's infatuation. It's deeper. Verb as a verb, love is deeper. It can be stalking, even stalker type. It could be so spiritual and intense, like Christians are, or Jehovah's Witnesses are, or cults are, even that deep in like religious stuff. That kind of love. So that's like whatever. So now, as a noun of love, when you've got tenderness, warm, it's surface. Like, when you taste a really good chocolate cheesecake or a brownie or a chocolate of just like Valentine's, the chocolates, It could be so warm and intimacy and tender and so good, right? So good, like I say, so good. Now, it could also put a spin on that which causes a weakness or a liking or a bent or a leaning. It's an inclination, so it can kind of, it kind of tilts you there when it comes to love. Then on the verb end, it can get even worse. It could become violent. It could become obsessive. It could become traumatic. It could become defensively destructive. So does anybody know what really love is? Does love actually have a place in this world when it comes to spiritual? When it comes to spiritual, you got that higher power. You can get so messed up in the head with that, right? But then, let me just tell you something. Love is a practice and a way of life. It is. Now, when somebody says, is it easy to fall in love? But is it harder continually to choose love? Think about that again. I'm going to say it again. And if you think about this, remember I just talked to you about the noun and verb. So as a practice, a way of life. So when it comes to fall to love, do you know, maybe you're thinking it's a verb in a sense of, infatuation, obsession, stalking, just a pleasure, or it could be a sickness of pedophiles. It could be, it could be just wrong, but an action of sense of verb. But in a practice way of life, love is harder to continually choose to love. See what I'm saying here? Because love's uncomfortable, right? Love's uncomfortable. We don't love. Most people on social media say, because let's just talk about social media. Nobody wants to love anything. Nobody wants to like. If we get lucky to like anything, you're all about these friends. So why is it that people are so brainwashed and afraid to like and love on social media? Because that's how we live today. But we're easy to friend someone, and we might not even know them. So let's go there. Friend. A friend is about a noun and a verb. So a friend in a noun situation is whom one knows and wants to bond with in a mutual aspect of something exclusive. Someone is a list of contact social networking. Now here's the thing. Do you understand that? Do you see how that just like, yeah, okay, that's easy. It's just like it's not something that is like trying to make you feel obligated. But when I go back to love or like, it feels like you're taking this sacrifice, and it becomes a negativity where you just can't do it. And now these companies are brainwashing you guys so much that you think that's the only way you can be popular. Like these A-listers. Oh, I have 184 million followers on my Instagram. I'm a god. I'm a goddess. Really? Okay. Yeah. I have 187 subscribers. Okay. Let's look at what subscriber means. Okay. Does anybody know what subscriber means? I think about that at first. Seems like an affection. Okay, but this is what a subscriber means. It is a noun. There is no verb content to it. It's a person who receives a public regularly. A person who receives to an access of service. So basically, in the real world, legally, companies that have where you are a subscriber, then you are someone that subscribes to something because you want to receive that publication regularly, and you're willing to pay in advance for that. So that means any company that provides anything, a tool, a software, a company, a channel, whatever, and you're a subscriber, then that channel that allows that subscription for that channel, that means that company is supposed to pay that channel for your subscription in order to be advanced. Either way, it could be by advertisement or by you paying to be part of that publication. Of course, it's a service. That means this person is paying a service. This person is a service to you, and you act as a service. So, and when you're looking as a service-wise, most of you all looking for, what are you looking for? Self-growth, self-esteem, self-improvement, right? Looking for that void, that love. You're looking for love, right? So You're trying to learn how to love. Nobody's actually trying to tell you how to do it. They're just manipulating to make you spin around and round and round and round. You'll never understand the learning to love. So let's talk about the learning to love. If the relationships in your life are bad, life stinks. The strain between a husband and a wife, a parent and a child, or between you and a friend can suck the joy right out of life. Correct? So good? But not so good. Yes. When there's strain between an employer and an employee, eldership and congregation, teacher and student, it can cause every hour to be filled with stress. Right? An example is, for example, I heard about a simple conversation from somebody, and we'll call her Jean. And Jean and this person had an argument. When there was tension between another person in the spiritual aspect of that, there's some strain because of the conflicting areas of the different types of areas that you believe spiritually, which is whether you believe that you're religious or Lutheran or Methodist or whatever, Jehovah, whatever spiritual interfaith, Buddhism, whatever you feel. But in a sense that it seems to be where it's a conflict of interest, and there's a lot of issues about that. And so when it comes to learning to love, most of the time it's about, they send you all these things to you. They invite you to stuff, but then just like anything in this world, when it comes to life, relationships, health, well-being, or financially even, you're looking to learning to love. That means you want somebody that you can learn to love when it comes to even your holding and trusting with your money, trusting with your kids, trusting with your pets, trusting with your health, trusting with your body, mind, and spirit, so to speak. So, on the contrary, I'm going to go to the good book that you call, we're going to go to the Bible. So, yet, we're going to bring another area. There was an apostle named Paul. He's in the Bible, the Christian Bible, the Christian Bible. Paul is an apostle. He writes about his relationship to the Philippines. Now, if you don't know who the Philippines are in this day and age, the Philippines is like, it's a chapter, it's a part of the New Testament of the Christian Bible. And it was about Paul. And Paul was actually, believe it or not, Jesus was a healer, but Paul actually could heal too. He was gifted with that healing part of that. But the Philippines in the modern day, so you understand where we're talking about. Who the Philippines are in the modern day. So you know where we're talking about because this is America. But it's about we're talking about the times. I think we're talking about the times where Romans were involved, but yet, believe it or not, it was actually modern day. It was it's actually in Greece, so to speak. So, but let's get back to the whole concept of the Philippines in this area of this book. It's a book, actually. It's a book of the Philippines. And the book of the Philippines is about things that are true, whatever things are. And so, Paul, when it came to love, he writes in about this relationship. He mentions that the root word for joy 16 times. And that's why Paul actually, he wrote a letter. He wrote a letter with words of thankfulness and affection towards God's people in Philippi, which is, modern day would be probably around Greece. So our God, he calls through the apostle, shows how you can learn to love the Christians in your life. But when it comes to love in anybody's life today on a spiritual level, how can we incorporate that? Well, let me go on further. So, let's give an example. Number one characteristic of a successful CEO is his ability to enjoy and love people. Now, do you love the people in your life right now? Whether it be in your work, in your family, in your business, the people that even online, even if you don't know them, even the people that you hire that are app people that control the apps that are part of your business. Because today it's about that connection and relationship. Do you love the way they provide in your sessions of enduring and enjoying in your area? So what about your marriage? Are you enduring and enjoying your marriage? Are you rejoicing and regretting people? Are you rejoicing or regretting people? Are you delighted or disappointed with your kids? Are you blessed or bummed with your friends? Are you affectionate or afflicted with your flock? So, I was actually told and then read about that 20% of people will never like you, no matter what you do. 20% of the people will always like you, no matter what you do. And 60% make up the middle. And so, those are the people you're supposed to focus on. Don't merely minister or go about your day. I use minister because it's about goals, it's about self-growth, it's about action in your life, your spiritual, who you are. To those who think you are, but don't focus all your time on those who hate you, but solid servant to those that between long in extremity. So what I'm taking is, I'm going to use this. I want you to think about this, because there's always going to be those naysayers, and it's all over it's just so you can turn it into a different direction. And how I'm going to explain that to you about learning to love. And I understand this because I never grew up with love. Honestly, I didn't. I didn't understand what love. I still don't. I'm still learning love. I'm starting to love, but I understand. When I found I learned to love, what I learned about real love was through my animals that I met that saved my life. That my pets, the cats, dog. That is amazing. That love is so unconditional. I mean, and it's not like they're perfect. They're like humans. Animals are. They can they can be jerks to you too. But the point is that, it's such a spiritual way to learn, because there's no negativity. There's no things that are trying to domineer, dictate, or Nazi around like in the world of the humans are. It's an instinct. It's a way they forgive. So it's how am I going to explain this? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to give you some more things. So it might be difficult to me to understand. So I'm going to go back to Paul. Paul, it's in Corinthians. He talked, and it's also in Episcopalians too, but I'll give you that later. So Paul, he tried to model towards his beloved Philippians. Even though Paul had a great difficulty with the Corinthians, he wanted to he basically There was all these different areas. There's Philippians, there's the Galatians, there's the Corinthians. He really wanted to spank the Galatians. But Paul, he was the type of person, he was very powerful, and he had a very healing power. But in a tendency, like as in today, you'll see, he always had this very tender love relationship with these Philippians, shining through his words. There was a joy over this letter he presented when I talk about that letter. If you remember, we talked about that letter. So God, he says, God, I know exactly what he's, I have all these friends, they're spiritual, I don't know, but mass majority, but is it easy to love? There's so much struggle, there's so much sorrow, there's so much difficulties, there's so much, curtains over eyes and veils and shadows, and it's a time that it's impossible. There's no way, because maybe this COVID was something that, it's not about physical. You need to learn to connect on a spiritual. Stop connecting on a physical, because nobody understands that. Because, like, for example, Paul talked about loving these Filipinos, and he demonstrates how when it comes to being a part of something and correcting. So, say, for example, you transport yourself back to the age of 60 AD, and you're visiting. See, Paul, when they put Paul in jail in Rome back then, and he had this letter and it began. That's how they did that. So, first listed Paul, the memories must have swirled. So, Paul, he was put in this jail. He was actually mistaken. There was actually a woman that was forgiven but Paul was actually released. Because in the sense that he was tossed in this local jail in Rome, though he committed no crime. He committed no crime whatsoever. Does that make sense to you? Why? He was trying to understand, okay, well, I love these people. I presented it, and then what did they do? So I don't understand why God would allow this work. But this was what was coming together. But the whole thing about this back then was that there was a small group, and even a jailer then was possibly demon possessed, a slave girl, even as in this Roman community. And so what happens is Paul writes this letter, and Paul doesn't call himself an apostle back then, but he gets considered a slave then. So he's modeling humility, which was needed back then, because he calls all this sense of leadership, because even though he was empowered, and you don't understand theologically, it's so funny because you don't even understand the whole concept. Israelites were so enslaved, but yet by these people that were so empowered, it was so powerful, but yet all those who enslaved these Israelites, they no longer exist anymore. But yet Israelites survive, and even, not like you don't know, none of you don't even realize this, but there's some very powerful that control on a 2% level in our own country today, in one of the top areas of entertainment. And how would they do that? Yet all those who enslaved them in the past are banished and gone. Finito, right? So let's go back here. So he writes this letter, and it starts by him pouring affection out. And he says, I thank my God and all my remnant of you, always offering prayer with joy, and every prayer for you all in view of participation in the gospel from this first day until now. For I am confident of this very thing, good work that will be perfect until the day of Christ Jesus. It's only right for me that I feel this way. Oh my goodness. Paul expresses so much love in his letter, in his defense. To grace me, he asked. He graced me. Grace me, you are my witness. Grace me. He expresses his love for the saints. He expresses his love for difficulty. He expresses his love in a sentence, even in the Greek. He does it in the language of Greek because that's where Greece is back then. So we can learn from his example. Verses 3 to 8 on one paragraph in the Greek, focusing on Paul's love for the Philippians. The original language emphasizes several main points in verses of 3 to 8. And it teaches about glorification. So you need to glorify yourself. The reason how you learn to love. I'm going to give you this now. Get right to it. I'm sure you're talking about so good. I'm sure it's confusing till you finally get in your spiritual realm. And once you elevate your spiritual self, you'll understand where I'm coming from. That's why you need to go to this LevelUP Tour so you can understand a better version of yourself, so you can learn and listen and understand what I'm saying. So let's just talk about simply what I'm trying to explain to you. How you need to learn to love. First, you need to ask to glorify Him, yourself, your higher power, by changing the relationship within. You need to ask that you be transformed. Transform you so that others can love more easily. And so you can love you more easily, to become lovable, even lovable. Strengthen the relationships that you have in your spiritual connection, or your community, or your church, or whatever. If you've got a Facebook group like my Spiritual Vibration Challenge, you need to strengthen that. You need to level it up. You need to support it. That's what learning to love. Asking people to invite. You need to meditate, pray, practice, be grateful, thankful. These are the thanks. The word thanks is in present tense, meaning continually giving thanks, telling us it's very difficult to love. If we don't learn to give thanks on a consistent basis, and as you notice, it's in Paul actually uses that word about 151 times. He does. It's a point to help you become deep in intimacy and relationship, communion. He uses that word a lot. Look it up if you don't believe me. Oh, I thank you. Oh, I thank thee. Thanks be. Declaration. It's the most powerful expression to give in a sense of thankfulness. To be intimate. How do you become intimate? Learning to love. It's about expression. It's about thanks. It's about expression. It's about supporting. It's about intimacy. It's about sacrifice. It's about transforming salvation within your spirit until you can break those chains that bind you. And remembrance of all the glory of who you are and where you come from in your spirit before you became into this body on this planet. And you're in touch with that so you can elevate your spiritual self. And most of us are not thankful. We're not. We're not thankful because in every aspect we just don't know what the inspiration is to connect with our own spirit, or the Holy Spirit, or the truth being, the remembrance of being where we are and where we come from before we came into this body. So here's the deal. Learning to love, and it's simply put, is learning about yourself. Self-love, self-care, becoming a better version of yourself. So when it comes to this holiday, Valentine's, if you don't know where Valentine's came from, Valentine's Day, the history of Valentine's Day is very interesting. Right? Does anybody know that? Does anybody know? Huh? Does anybody know where Valentine's Days come from? If you do, comment. It isn't actually early Christian. A holiday in a sense. And it's actually for Christian martyrs. Christian martyrs were named Valentine. Did you know that? Did you know that Christian martyrs were named Valentines? So the Valentines honor February 14th, which is also a Valentine of Rome. And Valentine of Rome was a priest in Rome who was martyred in 269 and was added into the calendar of saints by Pope Gelasius I in 496 and was buried on the Via Falemo. So the Saint Valentine was kept in the church. That's where it comes from, in the sense of Valentine's Day. So did you not know that? That's why I kind of wanted to bring this, when to use Paul in the aspect of learning how to love. Because sweet Valentine, millions of people around the world present flowers, chocolates, and tender love notes to their sweethearts. While the holiday actually really became sentiment in the 19th century, historians link its roots to the wild, actually pagans, but they call them pagans, but they were actually interfaith in the sense of what they wanted to rebirth the Saint Valentine himself. So if you read it, it rises as a Christian holiday in emergence to the so-called area, like I just told you. It's also Valentine's Day during the gods and goddesses time before time of Jesus, before the human aspect. It's an ancient Roman festival honoring Juno, the Roman goddess of marriage, which actually wasn't held on February 14th. It was held on February 15th. Believe it or not. So good. But it was honored by a mythic creature who supposedly suckled these two goddesses, and which actually came to bond with the twins, these twins that were abandoned as infants. So in a world of that sense, so it's dating back to 6th century BC we're talking about. It was actually, during that time, it was actually sexually charged and violent in rite, involving a sacrifice of animals and goats for sign of fertility. That was just wrong. The priests known as Leperci had their foreheads anointed with the blood from that sacrificial knife, and they were wiped clean, and it was. But again, you got to remember, don't worry, you animal lovers. Remember, that was stopped after AD, so there was no longer animal sacrifice and all that. No, and today, no longer. But it was just like as women were. Women were treated very, and they made them run naked, and they used to whip the women till they bled. So, yes, that was back then. So, but today, but if you understand the whole theme of Valentine, but I just want to give you that the right back then, it was all connected centuries in the sense of Christianity. So, it was replaced later on, thank goodness, to pagan rites. Pagans actually replaced it in a feast, so to speak, on St. Valentine's on February 14th. And these several stories involved Christians that were named Valentine, who were martyrs, of course, of the Roman Emperor Claudius, the second, I think, and the most famous during that time, because he was a 3rd century martyr in prison for secretly marrying Christian couples and helping persecuted believers, believe it or not. So the Valentine was actually executed on February 14th in 2 AD. How about that? Yeah, interesting. Did you guys know that? So something there's a lot more to this story of the evolution change of Valentine's Day in the U.S. But the Valentine's Day in the U.S. Um, that's back then. So that America wasn't born yet. So when America was discovered, Valentine's Day in the U.S. actually in the 1800s, as a marriage in America shifted from more of an economic alliance towards a romantic relationship, the popular Valentine's Day, it soared. So it shifted. Like the energy shifted. It shifted. So where it then became more of learning how to love in a sense of gifts. Actually, then the biggest, fanciest gifts were spoons and gloves, tokens of affection. So all these nostalgic bad times and stories of Valentine's in this period, popular literature, becomes this shift to where, just like as in Paul did back when he loved the Philistines, about learning to love. So now it's more commercialized, isn't it? It's more commercialized. And the heart. Now you've got the biggest heart. Just like my claim it thing. My claim it. You bring your two C's together, left and right hand. You cup them at a C. You bring them together in that heart. And you've claimed it. Because it resembles an actual mind, body, blood, like this back then, all connection of a sacrifice. The heart is viewed as a source of human love and emotion. So now today we have that. It's amazing how things change. So the shape we associate on social media with the Valentine's heart, just like when we do the claim it, because you take those two C's, left and right hand, you cup them like a C, you bring them together and you claim it, and you lift them up above your head. Can you do that now for me? So good. Oh, I love you in this place. Claim it. We are here. We have changed. We have shifted. We are beyond that past. No more. For we are a sacred heart of, aren't we? We have finally pierced and broke free from that bondage of back in the past. And now we're encircled, and we now come together in many areas. So I want to tell you this right now, learning to love. This is what it's about. I want you to take that deep breath in. I want you to take your hands right now. Put your hands together. Fold them across to your heart center, or fold your hands into prayer mantra. Breathe this in. Say, I am learning to love. I am learning to love. From here on then, I am learning to love. For now, love is no longer the way it is in the past of pain, suffering, sacrifice, torment, violence, hate, wrongdoing. It is now different. I move forward into this new area of learning to love. And I breathe this in. And I lift my hands up to my forehead, and I shine this out to light and love to all those I'm connected, and share this. And I vow to claim it! Woo! Breathe it in. Come on, level up. So good. Oh my gosh, my friends. I love this. Amazing. Please go out and do this. Share this video if you like. Please like it and subscribe. Sharing is caring, and I will see you on the next Sunday Vibe message.